Hello, Glowbusters. Yes, of course they're serious. You do? You have? No kidding. Uh-huh. Oh, they'll cure your globitis this week. Thank you. We got one!
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's the Glowbusters.
What are you supposed to be, some kind of a cosmonaut?
No, we're exterminators.
And now, here's your host.
And welcome everybody to Glowbusters, the Modalities of the Aether. I'm your host, Bob Xanadude60, and we're back with another Wednesday evening show. And just have a few things that I want to cover tonight. There's not a whole lot of stuff that happened that was completely insane. Well, actually, there was one thing, but I can't talk about that yet. But when I can, it's going to be pretty cool. But other than that, it's been a fairly quiet week. So what I wanted to talk about today, in addition to kind of giving some recognition to a couple of the about show being on right now. Okay. I'm not sure what you meant by that, Cami. But anyway, all right. I just got sidetracked by my wife. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to, talk about some videos that came out this week that were really pretty cool, and give some, some of the content creators some kudos on that. But beyond that, I also want to elaborate a little bit more on what we call the luminiferous ether. That thing that Albert Einstein mathematically dismissed and, said simply doesn't exist. But of course, virtually every physicist in the world that is at least paying attention anyway, disagrees with that and knows full well that, no matter what they want to call the ether, whether they want to call it a quantum field or, anything other than that, it does exist. And of course, it's a lot easier talking about somebody that's a hardcore mainstream glober. If you talk to them about the quantum field instead of saying the luminiferous ether, even though they are essentially exactly the same thing. But it is, in fact, the stuff that everything is kind of manifest from. It is the medium which propagates electromagnetic waves, which actually, I shouldn't say that propagates them, that actually it's the medium that waves when it is stimulated, i.e. when you stimulate the luminiferous ether, it generates wave patterns in it at a specific rate of induction. And this is one of the reasons why we can have variable speeds without violating any laws of physics when light goes through different mediums and changes speeds. Because otherwise, with the current model, which is utterly retarded, saying that light is photons, you have to explain how, first of all, a particulate can slow down to, 60% of its speed as it goes through like a medium like water, and then speeds back up to the full 180,282 miles per second, allegedly, whatever that is, but without violating any laws of physics. Where did that extra energy come from to do that? What did that just kind of pop out of nowhere, or what? Or are we simply looking at the way that light behaves incorrectly? And, obviously it is my position that we are definitely looking at the way that light behaves incorrectly. There's a lot of things that quantum mechanics just has blatantly wrong, and that is one of them. So that's something that I wanted to talk about as well, and also some of the modalities of the ether. And one of those modalities, of course, is our old friend that we call gravity. And, there's a lot to be said about that, about this whole gravity subject, which is still a very, very hotly debated subject in the flat earth world. And, I have a lot to say about it. And I think that it's something that we really kind of need to come to an agreement on. Because, I have to be frank with you guys, in my opinion, when people, flat earthers or whoever, just outright say that gravity doesn't exist, without qualifying that in any other way, shape, or form, it will make the average person or anybody that you're talking to immediately shut down, probably think you are a complete idiot and have nothing, technically cohesive to contribute, because you're going against something that for most people is blatantly obvious. You drop things, they go down. Most people don't think about relative density differential, or how buoyancy or anything like that is calculated, or even how it works. But suffice it to say, it's not as simple as, whoa, you let things go and they go down because it's less density. It's not that simple either. And that's something that I definitely want to talk about today. So let me go ahead and introduce my panel that we're going to kind of talk about this tonight with. And first up, we have John the Morgile. So how you doing today, Mr. John?
I am doing very well. And I was going to say, go jump off a building and then tell me gravity doesn't exist. But right. And of course, that's not the argument. We'll get into it. And doing very well, Bob. Hope everyone is doing well out there in Flatland.
Awesome. That sounds very good. Okay. And next up, we have with us Mr. John Savage. And so how are you doing this evening, John?
Oh, you nearly caught me off guard there. You usually put me in last. So, I'm doing well, mate. Coming to you still from prison, Britain. It's bloody cold here too. It's getting down to 4 degrees tonight. That's Celsius for those who don't speak French. But nice to join you again, John, Zach, Bob.
Okay.
Looking forward to the show.
Beautiful. All right. Yeah, it's actually been kind of unseasonably warm here in South Carolina. It's been in the 90s. And the humidity, boy, when it kicks up a bit, it does get a little on the warm side. But fortunately, we have good air conditioner for that. So that's always a good thing.
Always helps.
Yeah, it does. And last but not least, we have with this, Zachary Zabala, or Good Times for All, if you prefer. How you doing tonight, Zach?
Hey, Babo, doing pretty good. Good day. Can't complain. I like the hot. And the humidity around here, I know it's high for you, but this 40, 50-ish, that's a nice day for me. I'm usually up there by Lake Michigan where I grew up. It was always 80 to 100% humidity almost all year round, except for early spring and late fall. So, this is perfect weather. And I'm super skinny, so 90 it's warm, but it's not too hot.
Yeah.
So
good day. That's kind of like Cami, she doesn't have a whole lot of meat on her bones either, and of course I'm a little the opposite. So, but whatever, it all works good. So anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying the pictures that we're showing here. Of course, this is the NASA's Perseverance rover live from Mars. Yeah.
Devon Island.
Yeah, from Devon Island. Which is really pretty classic because, speaking of this is something that I wanted to show you guys. I came across this week, and I was just like, oh, for God's sake, you got to be kidding me. So what this is, let's see what it's titled, The Craziest Rocks on Mars. Okay. Great Martian Periodolias. I think that's how you pronounce that. But it's interesting because, they have all of these rock formations. And of course, they want us to believe things like this is a rock. Okay. Now, I don't know what that is, but I seriously doubt it's a rock. But, the hardcore NASA fanboy will probably look at that and go, wow, that looks pretty alien and exotic.
It looks like a tree disguising itself as a rock.
Yeah, or this thing, right? Look at this thing. What the hell is that? It looks like bells on a belt or something. That's just crazy. And that's supposed to be a natural rock formation.
No, that's a piece of a jester's cap right there.
But look at some of these names here, like mascara. It's like mascara. Okay, so what's this going to look like? Well, you can imagine what it's going to look like, and they'll get over to it here. But I was just sitting there, looking at the names and looking at the rock formations and going, oh my God, this is absolutely beyond belief that anybody would believe this is real. Currently,
were those clouds back there? Can you go back about 20 seconds?
Let's see. Back.
Look along the horizon there.
That was
or a little
hell
bit
of
more. Yeah.
Hell of a flat horizon, I must say.
I don't know.
Are those clouds in the distance? Look at that.
I think it's
clouds.
I do.
I think it looks like more like mountains in the background.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, they're just real faded out.
Yeah. So
love the alien
they don't show too
statue,
much of the sky, I've noticed. They quit. I guess they're tired of putting in the red tint.
Look at this mascara, right? They highlight, here's a guy's face, right? Got the guy's face, nose with the eye there, and they call it mascara. It's like, give me a break. And you know what? I don't even believe that these are necessarily are even rock formation natural on Earth. I think what they did, is probably these were released, in the hopes of the, upcoming alien agenda, that the, people are going to look at these and, stuff like this right here. It's like, what? That's supposed to be a rock, and it looks like a big spoon that's hanging out like a big bridge, right? And then this area over here looks like a great big huge, like a theater, right? Like Red Rocks Amphitheater, something like that. It's just unbelievable. And then look at this thing. These are just outrageous. Yeah. Astronauta, right? Astronauta, right? Because it looks like a guy running around in a spacesuit. So
wow, they're desperate, aren't they?
They really are.
People are going to fall for it, though. You know it.
Yeah.
Well, they
really
made
are.
that mistake and put their time-lapse video right in front of where these mushrooms were supposedly growing. And a bunch of scientists said, look, there's mushrooms growing on Mars. It wasn't, YouTuber, whoever. These were like accredited scientists working in academia or wherever they were working. They were working as scientists. And they said, hey, those are mushrooms. We know we have those mushrooms here on Earth. How are those mushrooms growing on Mars? So yeah, they're same old NASA, making the same old, and I don't even think they're mistakes. I think they do this stuff on purpose.
Yeah.
They're clearly taking the piss out of us.
They really are. Look at this Canon or Canyon. Let me back that up just a little bit, right? So this looks like some sort of tank out in the desert with a big, long barrel. And Canyon, whatever. It's like has that exotic appeal to it, right? Because they have the little tilde at the top of it and the apostrophe, and it's like, whatever, dude. And this doesn't look natural at all. I mean, I don't even know what this is. This looks like a close-up of sand and a little piece of plastic that's just laying down on the ground.
That's a blunt wrap.
But it's fossil. And now we have femur. There's somebody's shin bone, right? Femur.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. I was just beside myself laughing at this going, oh my God. And then what do we got here? A casco. Now that looks like a construction helmet, like somebody just dropped it on the ground or something. I'm not sure what that is, but and it's interesting because the pictures get really pixelated.
There's not one rock that's rounded anywhere around that. But
Yeah.
that one is supposedly a rock that's rounded.
Yeah. Oh, and then we got pyramide. Just, oh, look at this. Like I said, this to me is straight up trolling, or, I mean, you can tell that all the NASA fanboys or all the Richard Hoagland fanboys are going to be coming in here going, oh my God, these are civilizations on Mars. And, I have to say, and I know John was in the same boat, we were both there. I mean, I bought into the face on Mars, hook, line, and sinker, and then the little city called Sidonia, right? Because everything was at 19.5 degrees, from everything else. And I'm just thinking, well, if this is real, there's no possible way that could possibly be artificial, right? And if it was real, then no, I don't think there really would be any way that it would have been artificial. But, now I know it's not real. And now I know they're just trolling us.
Well, if Richard Hoagland can make crystal cities on the moon out of the pictures, then yeah, he's going to have a field day on this.
It's true. Go ahead, John. Oops, you're muted, John, I think.
I know. There's a bit of a lag on the mute button, so like sometimes I'll click it and it doesn't work, so I'll click it again, and then of course that's when it worked from before. And no, I was gonna say, I remember one of the things that I was really into with Richard Hoagland was I want to say Europa, which was one of the moons of Jupiter, I think. And so it's not just Mars either. I mean, they really have the predictive programming and space propaganda laid on pretty thick. And, I don't think that Richard Hoagland is so much of a deceiver. I don't think he's intentionally deceiving things. I think he really believes that the pictures and the data that he's reviewing from NASA is legit. But at the same time, he will never scrutinize NASA either. Like, they get a free pass on the scientific method, and yet they're supposed to be all about the science, right?
Well, he used to work for NASA, didn't he?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Well, he was the supposed science advisor for Walter Cronkite and CBS News, and then at some point, yeah, he went into at some point. I think he worked for NASA, but I'm not entirely positive about that. But the only thing that Hoagland ever said about NASA that I totally agree with is, of course, he said the lie is different at every level, and that I can pretty much guarantee you is true.
Yeah.
So look what we got here, Tronco, and make of that whatever you will. It's pretty interesting. People, sometimes when they look at stuff like this, I have to appreciate people that have really vivid imaginations, like my friend Andrew, who runs the Boogeyman channel, right? He can look at something and just, pull things out of it, and you're just going, wow, man. You really, he really does have a vivid imagination. But sometimes, he pegs it, it's like, wow, that really does look like it could be, what you're claiming it to be. But, and of course, these days, I have a hard time saying, well, as weird as it all is, who's to say that, there isn't something like that going on? It's hard. It's hard to claim bunk on everything, It's
pretty clear, though, that these aren't pictures of a ball in space.
No.
It looks like a sink someone threw out in the desert, filled the inside with sand, maybe.
Yeah, or a toilet seat or something like that.
Just crazy.
Yep. And I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. I don't think they know what that is either. The double question mark then. But
it looks like somebody stepped in a big pile of bear shit.
Yeah. Dinosaur poop. That's what it's got to be. Piedra levitando. Okay. Oh, gee, I wonder why the levitando is in there. It looks like it's levitating. And it does. It looks like it does look like it's levitating. It's casting a shadow on the ground. It's an interesting effect, but again, I doubt, some of these may actually be natural formations because, the Earth sometimes will throw out some really interesting looking artifacts, which, to be honest with you, ever since, I started following the guys, doing the mud fossils and people like Stellium 7, who are, talking about these very large mountain-sized, structures could actually be, remains of, maybe a large pachyderm or a large, giant or something like that. It's entirely possible. And in fact, if Mudflood guy is right, he said that, some of these things, so-called rocks, he actually had analyzed, and they had human DNA in them. And of course, that would go along with biblical scripture and stuff like that. So, it just goes to show you, I mean, our world is really, really weird, and it's really hard to say what our true past was. But I have a feeling that it's all going to come to us very, very soon, as it kind of already is,
Didn't NASA get caught giving fake moon rocks to, I want to say, like the Netherlands or Holland or something like that?
Yes.
And it turned out to be petrified wood.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And
I mean,
then
that's got to be so embarrassing for NASA, you would think, but they don't have any shame about it. Like, what did they even do for that sort of, for that, whitewashing of that? I don't even think they did much.
I don't know. It was presented by either Buzz Aldrin or Neil Armstrong, one of the two, to some government over in Europe. And of course, they found out later that it was petrified wood. And of course, the Globers are now saying that it was just a joke, right? So they're trying to backpedal on it already.
There's trees on the moon.
I think they claimed that it had been stolen. The original one had been stolen, which is even more hilarious.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like losing all those.
I think it was the royal family, presented to the royal family of Netherlands.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
They also had, I think they had, I want to say, like Mont Blanc pens that supposedly had moon dust in them that they were selling for just exorbitant amounts. Just ridiculously high. And of course, well, there is no such thing as moon dust. So what are they putting in there?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, moving on. So this little story here, this is pretty funny, comes from us, Phys.org. And I used to actually think Phys.org was serious about science. Now I know they're just they're like the National Enquirer, as far as the way I look at them now.
They all are.
They really all are, yeah. But so here we have the headline that says moon mission delays could increase risks from solar storms. It's like, moon mission delays? What? What are we talking about? Moon mission delays? You mean the ones that have been happening for the last 50 years? I was watching a compilation the other night about how many times, how many presidents, how many people like Elon Musk or what's his nuts from Virgin, all these guys are saying, yeah, Branson, oh yeah, we're going to have it next year, in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, next month, and I mean, there are literally dozens of these things, and we're always going to be going there. And then somehow, it all gets kind of swept under the carpet, and then they bring it out and act like, oh, guess what, guys, we decided we're just going to do this. And so we're going to, it's just unbelievable. People keep buying it.
They know we've got goldfish memories, or the majority of people have, and they can just come out with this, and we're in collective amnesia that, you forget you read it 2 years ago or whatever. This is where the whole basis of space lettuce comes from the amount of times they've told us they've grown space lettuce in the ISS again, or for the first time.
China has a space station now.
Oh, do they? Really?
Yeah. I just heard that one not too long ago. Zero video footage of, it being put together, not one bolt turned.
Mm-hmm.
Video. So yeah,
and there never will be.
Let me guess. The exterior walls are rice paper, right?
Yeah, probably.
I've heard they've started growing lettuce for the first time.
First time ever. What's funny is every time I mention that too, when I say, because I make this statement boldly, and I'll say it again, ballers, there is not one iota of ISS footage out there that shows it being constructed. Now, here's what's going to happen because I said that. They're all going to say, oh, you're an idiot. And they're going to send me stuff. They're going to send me pictures and video of maybe, something getting moved from one position to another in space. Or they're going to show something like at the underwater, the neutral buoyancy lab, right? Putting something together there. But no, guys, when I'm talking about actual construction, if you don't know what a construction project looks like and how things look, when they are being built, then you're hopeless, right? Because if you send me those things, and you will, and tell me how stupid I am, claiming that there isn't any footage showing the construction of any of this, and you really need to, before you send it, you really need to look at what you're sending and what do you think you're actually proving by that. What is it actually showing? Is it actually showing anything at all that shows, the stages in any sort of detailed look? I mean, guys, you have to remember, we're talking about the most expensive, the most incredible feats of engineering that humankind has ever done, right? We should document every single iota of it. And the reality is we can't even get a 24-hour footage of Earth rotating in space. Oh my God, now I did it. Now I'm going to get everybody sending me pictures of what the hell is it? The one that takes a picture every half hour or so.
Harari,
Himawari. Yeah, the Himawari, right? I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable that people buy into this, and there, I even see, guys in the chat that are sitting here trying to troll us and tell us, that, let's see, like this guy, Miguel Torres says, I love it. You can't prove the earth is flat, but there are a million ways to prove it's round. Well, you know what, Miguel, you got that quite backwards because we have nothing but proof the earth is flat. We have a billion videos out there that are done with people doing laser experiments, interferometer experiments, gyro experiments, everything, motion experiments, accelerometer experiments, all of them show no motion and no curvature. We cannot find any curvature. We cannot find any motion. We cannot find any evidence for the ball Earth because there isn't any. So, people like you, Miguel, you're just lost in space, right? And now we got Tim Getsay. So look at the trolls come down. They just love coming in here. They really think they have something to say. And you guys are so wrong. You're pathetic. You really are. Wake up, guys. Wake the hell up.
And a billion videos is probably not really an exaggeration at this point. I remember when we were tracking this, certainly Mark Sargent was tracking it, and it got to a point of 19 million videos, and that was just what YouTube was showing us. And then it went to basically nothing. But there was a point before the algorithms kicked in where we were trending higher than
2016.
Yeah. And we were actually trending.
We were bigger than Donald Trump,
and that was in 2016, for crying out loud. So there probably is close to a billion videos out there. They've just all been hidden.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unbelievable. Then we got other geniuses like here, Psi Solitarium, who comes in and says, oh, I'll get him good. I'm going to say a 15-degree drift, right? It's like, oh man, if you guys knew how many times I heard that, and if you had any idea how ignorant you were and what I was actually talking about, and what we went on to prove after that, you wouldn't be so proud of your stupidity that you highlight in these comments. But, enough with the trolls, but it is funny.
You've explained it how many times now?
Yeah. Explained it, provided the proof. And of course, it's funny, they're all willing to accept it when I say, yeah, we detected a 15-degree drift, on the fiber optic gyro. All of a sudden now I'm the world's biggest hero because I detected Earth rotation, and they're all willing to believe every bit of that. But anything else I say, oh, Bob Nodill's the biggest liar in the world, this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, it's just unbelievable. Talk about the ultimate in cherry picking, right? 1 minute I'm at 1 minute I'm their hero, and the next minute,
Cheers, Bob.
Yeah. So yeah, and I do get tired of that crap. Yeah, Ryan, I really do. It's but I also find it amusing because, you know, I just listen to these guys and I watch them and I just go, wow, it must be amazing to be that stupid. That they can't, you know, all they are doing is repeating what they've heard from Simon Dan or, you know, the Netflix movie that was edited incorrectly and stuff like that. And here for 6 years, we have done nothing but provide evidence that absolutely proves the flat earth beyond any reasonable doubt whatsoever. The preponderance of evidence is so voluminous and mountainous, it just boggles the mind. And the debunking of the globe just goes on continuously. In fact, I'm going to show you some really great work again today that is just hilarious, you know. But yeah, again, guys, so yeah, guys, keep this in mind, you trolls. Here's another delay that will never go back to the moon because it's just going to be one delay after another, as it has been since 1974. Okay, so that's just the way it's going to be.
And hopefully the movie Flatlanders by Shelley, is it? Is going to
Shelley Lewis?
Is going to...
It's a series.
Hopefully. Oh, it is, isn't it? Yeah. But you get to actually put your point of view across on that one, as far as I know.
Yes. Yes, I do. And this other piece of good news, I may get to do a whole lot more than that, but I'm dying to announce it, but I can't.
Ooh,
but it's good. Oh man, it's good. Anyway, all right, so let's go on. All right, so moving on. One of the next things I want to cover is one of the better content producers in this community is a guy that runs the channel called Level Earth Observer. All right, and I really like this guy because, you know, he's got amazing observational patterns, abilities. He has amazing deductive skills, very, very logical type of person. And he catches some absolute beauties. You know,
Bob, is he the guy that drives a crane?
He is.
Right, yep. Gotcha. Yeah, really cool. Really cool.
Yep. Yeah, he runs one of those the high altitude cranes and stuff. And so I want to go through a couple of his videos here that I thought, you know, he released them this week and I thought that they were absolutely outstanding. This first one is a 4-minute one, and it's called Flat Earth, Globe Mathematics, and the Horizon of Truth. And this is just one of those things that we have, you know, we've acknowledged and, you know, talked about a lot, but I don't think people really think about it that much until it is put in a specific way, or at least, you know, I didn't, even though I think about stuff like this all the time. But, you know, sometimes somebody will present something in a way that you're just going, holy cow. Yeah, no doubt. How can we ignore that? So I'm going to play this video in its entirety, all 4 minutes of it. And you guys are going to, I think you'll appreciate this. So let's give it a run.
Aeroplanes and the horizon of truth. Sprinkle on a little bit of globe mathematics, and what have you got? A cannonball Earth that just falls flat on its face based on its own claims and its own mathematics. Bear with me. Okay, so I want to know, if I'm in an aeroplane cruising at 39,000 feet, I want to know how far away the horizon is that I see out the window at eye level. I want to know how far that horizon is according to the globe mathematics. I want to know how far away that is, supposedly from me. So we put in the observation height, 39,000 feet, and we calculate. And we get a distance to the horizon of 242.1 miles. So we've got that as a reference. Okay, so I've got my 242.1 mile figure. Now I've put in an eye height here of 0. All I'm interested in is how much the Earth supposedly curves between the 2 points of reference. Point A being the ground below the aeroplane. Point B being the horizon the people or myself are seeing from the aeroplane. So all I'm interested in here is just getting some idea how much the ground curves away. And we calculate. And it turns out the ground curves away at 39,050 feet. Okay? So we've got that as a reference now. So I've got the illustration here. Point A, the ground below the plane. Point B, the horizon that people are seeing from the plane, supposedly. But the strange thing is, according to the globe maths, the horizon, when you're in an airplane flying at an altitude of 39,000 feet and you're seeing the horizon 240 miles away, according to the globe maths, that horizon is not only 39,050 feet below eye level, you've also got to add the 39,000 feet of altitude that you're in your plane. So it works out when we test the globe mathematics, the horizon that appears at eye level, however high we go, but in this instance in the plane at 39,000 feet, according to the globe maths, that horizon should be 78,050 feet below eye level.
Sorry about that. Okay, so think about that for a second, guys. 78,050 feet is just a skosh under 15 miles. Okay, 15 miles is an elevation that the U2 may have difficulty getting that high. In fact, I'm not sure if it can get that high. But, you know, when you look out, when we're sitting in an airplane, and anybody can do this, and of course, if you deny it, you're a moron. But if you look out the windows to the right of you, even if it's across the aisle, you can always see the horizon. You can see the land coming up and meeting the sky. And if you look out your own window and you're looking straight out, you come up and you see the land meeting the sky. And those points, you have to remember, are 15 miles below you. Now, how is that possible? How can they be 15 miles below you on both sides, and yet there they are right at your eye level? You can even look out all the way across the airplane looking at the other side. It's just mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, the last plane trip I took, I did that and was showing it to the kids. We were sat in the middle aisle and we were looking out the left-hand side and the right-hand side and seeing the horizon meeting the sky, and was basically asking them the same questions. And yeah, it's nonsense.
It is complete retardville. And again, Globers, you buy this, you know, and you call us dumb. Wow. Anyway, let's continue hearing out the video.
Think about that. 78,000 feet. That's higher than the U2 plane flies at. That's how high. That difference is how far the horizon should be below eye level. Clearly ridiculous. I mean, who believes this stuff? I pointed this out to a globe-believing mate the other day. He just froze on the spot. He had nothing to say. It's because the globe maths mugs itself off left, right and centre, particularly with planes and particularly when we're dealing with the horizon. You can't look out of a plane window and see the horizon there when, according to the globe maths, is nearly 80,000 feet below your eye level. You just can't. That's clearly ridiculous. I'm sorry if you believe or want to believe you live on a globe. I mean, you can carry on, but it's clearly scientifically impossible. And when you use natural observations and use the horizon and then test it with the globe mathematics, the globe just fails. This isn't an opinion. This is a scientific fact. The globe, I'm afraid, is impossible.
Yes, it is. And of course, we all know that. You know, we all know that very, very well. And again, even if you don't consider that, you know, absolutely conclusive proof, it is a piece of the evidence. It is a preponderance of evidence that is so strong that, you know, if you're being intellectually honest with yourself at all, you have to think, well, you know, how is that even possible? And of course, It goes way, way beyond that. We can go up to 125,000 feet with balloons, and we can look around at a 360 degree, around. Well, first of all, never do we ever see any drop, right? The horizon level, it's always at the same place all the way around us, but you have to wonder how many miles that is below you, that, you can look straight out and see the horizon. It's just unbelievable. So anyway, hat tip to Level Earth Observer. I think he does some fantastic work, and just wanted to share that one with you. Now, he also has another one here. Now, this one's actually pretty cool. Another one of those things where, he just points out how clearly ridiculous this footage is, and I can't even do it good. I mean, he's so damn funny the way he presents this. I want to go ahead and present this one also. I'm going to kick it up one notch in speed so it isn't quite as long, so it'll run about 4.5 minutes. And let's give this one a watch, and then you guys tell me what you think of this one too, because this is freaking great.
So cool. Yep.
Whoops. Might help if I started at the beginning.
Right, I've got to watch this apparently. This supposedly debunks demonstrable reality. So does the Virgin Galactic pop its cherry and prove the scientifically impossible globe to be true? Or is this just the usual tosh we get from the space pantomime agencies? Let's have a look.
One, release.
Fire.
Already I'm not impressed. Old school NASA, recycled for the space tourism charade. That's all it is. 1959, the X-15 rocket plane. That's all this is. That technology which NASA used to do high altitude tests, recycled to push this space tourism charade. It's not even going as fast as the X-15 did. And I've got to stop you there. We've gone from footage from looking from the ground up to this, which looks to me like a Thunderbird's model, admittedly a more expensive one. This one's got the capability of having a flame come out the back. Good stuff. But we've got this, and it doesn't even look that far. To this charade. Clearly ridiculous. Again, more cuts than a samurai film. Why can't we just get one beautiful bit of footage that blows everyone away? I don't have a bias. I stand by the things that are demonstrably true. I don't care what the results are. I stand by them. It's called not being ruled by the ego. I mean, this is clearly ridiculous. This seems like a mixture of test flight footage and models.
And notice the sound, guys.
Job, CJ Mac. We show test points Alpha and Bravo complete. You're going to space. Again.
I mean, look at it. Look at it. Clearly ridiculous.
Increasing pitch. Wow, look at that view. Gorgeous.
Who is that character? Wow, look at that view. Gorgeous. Who is that?
Increasing pitch. Wow, look at that view. Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Who is that? Some sort of mannequin that's learned to speak. I mean, is it gorgeous? Or is it just the usual tosh we've seen for years?
Yeah, Planet New Mexico. And what's amazing is the rocket sound, of course, doesn't ever change, right? Now, we know that even when you get up above like 50,000 feet in a balloon, air gets thin enough that you can hardly hear anything going on up there. And so this is supposedly way higher than that. And, it sounds like it's taking off from the runway at sea level. So, they can't get anything right. They absolutely get everything wrong from their visual effects to the cuts. He's right. We never get a single continuous, nice, uncut piece of footage. It's always, one cut to another, to another, to another, because, the old rule, right? You can't ever show that fourth wall, type of stuff. And it's a combination of CGI and, very little actual real graphics. Now nobody's disputing that rocket technology exists. Obviously it does, but the way that they're trying to pull this over on us is just beyond belief. So
well, I would say rocket technology, it does exist, but you do run into some problems in the so-called vacuum that they say is out there too, don't you?
Yeah, you would run into a lot of problems in that vacuum. So it's kind of like Mars. They got that stupid helicopter supposedly flying around on Mars, and Mars's atmosphere is 0.6. It's like 0.6 of 1% of Earth's atmosphere. And if you guys saw the show that I did on the helicopter before it ever got there, of course we were using some, I think it was Smarter Every Day's footage, or somebody, I don't remember whose it was somebody's footage. And basically we took
Cody's lab.
Cody's lab, that's right. Yeah. We took a vacuum chamber down to about 0.6 of 1%, and then put a very, very steep bladed, right, high pitched blade at a high RPM fan motor inside of there. And then we put a little bitty teeny tiny feather in front of that fan and turned it on full blast, and it couldn't even move the feather. And they want us to believe that that thing is moving around 20, 30 pounds of helicopter and cargo and whatever on Mars like it was nothing. And of course, what is their excuse? Well, it's rotating a lot faster. You know what? I don't care if it's rotating at 100,000 RPM. There's not enough medium to cut into. It's not going to go anywhere. And
Did you see Cody's?
Sorry, it's not like it's rotating that much faster, because if you talk about rim velocity, the helicopter has to cover a way bigger area. The drones, the smaller drones, they spin way faster than this thing does. I think this thing's only like, 6,000 RPMs? Something like that, where a helicopter's 2,600 RPMs.
Yeah.
But the drones are like 2,000 RPMs. So
Yeah.
they're comparing apples to oranges when they say this.
Exactly.
They really are.
Because that's one thing, the more circumference you have on something that's rotating, again, what do you have to pay attention to? It is not the RPM. It is the edge velocity. And that's the problem with the Earth going the speed that it is. People say, oh, well, it's only 0.000694 RPM. Well, you know what? You're right. But the edge velocity is 1,037.5 miles per hour. And there is no material known, as far as I know, that could be the mass and the size of the Earth that could possibly withstand that. And even if there was, how is the water not even being affected? I mean, not only is the water not reacting at all, right? There's not even an uncharacteristic bulge at the equator, which we should have this fabulously high wall of water. And again, the ballers, they cannot process this through. They're not capable of processing that. And give us all the math all day long. And if you do the math, you'll find that, what they're going to come back and say, oh, there's only, so many grams of difference. Like, how you've had people say, well, if I weighed myself at the North Pole and then I weighed myself on the equator, wouldn't I be able to see a significant difference in weight? And of course, they'll come back and they'll say, yeah, if you calculate it all out, you should weigh something like, 6 or 7 grams more, right? And then they say, well, you would never notice that because your vestibular system would never process that. Really? Well, the problem is why can't an accelerometer process that either? An accelerometer can measure infinitesimally much smaller accelerations or weight differences or anything like that, and yet it can't be done. Even orbits, when you have orbits, or you have the ISS going around or anything in orbit, and then you have the Earth going around apogee and perigee, all of these should be absolutely predictable as to when these acceleration changes will be absolutely notable. I mean, we should be able to tell right down to the second when we are going to get a variation. But you know what? We can't. Gee, I wonder why. The reason why is because we're not moving, especially in all these different directions.
Did you see Cody's Lab's latest one where he had a sort of spinning propeller in a vacuum, and he was trying to recreate the helicopter thing on Mars? Do you see that one?
Mm-hmm.
Where he disintegrated.
That wasn't that Action Lab.
Oh, yeah, I thought they're the same one.
Oh, that's right. That was Action Lab. Yep. Yeah, I get those guys mixed up too. Go ahead,
And
Zach.
then he was even trying to say, well, it kind of flew there at the end. When, I mean, the thing was spinning so fast, it came off of the motor. And then saying that it flew after that, I mean, that thing bounces one time. And really, it just bounced all around the thing. He put it in like super slow motion and said, look, it's kind of flying right there.
And the first time he turned the voltage up so high, obviously he wasn't getting any lift. He turned the voltage up so high, it disintegrated the propeller.
Yeah.
The little plastic propeller, and it totally shattered it. He was trying.
Yeah.
But I don't think they need to go into these minutiae of detail. I don't think, I honestly don't think their criteria is to get it technically correct. I think it's to do the opposite, so that you feed the trolls, and we have to beat the trolls off day in, day out. They know this. They know that we will argue amongst ourselves if given enough leeway. So they give us enough leeway to point out how stupid it is, but give the ballers enough leeway to come out with some lame excuse as to why it's not bullshit. It's just an endless game.
Yeah, exactly.
People's gullibility, when they see a picture, and that's all they need.
Yeah.
They don't get to the science on, is it possible to get there? Is it possible to fly? They see a picture or a video, and they're like, go America! You know, and that's then they look away. You know, that's as much attention as they pay to it right there. That's it for 90-something% of the population, probably.
Yeah, that's about all they have as far as that goes. It is crazy. It really is. And yeah, so, and of course we do have our disagreements among us, but I mean, the things that blow me away is we have beaten the ballers back so badly in this debate that they are now at the point where they're saying, well, you can't see the geometric horizon. And that's still, every time, I flip across any show that's talking about that, and some baller will come on there and say, well, you can't see the geometric horizon. It's like, what the hell are you talking? It's like, technically you're right. You can't see the geometric horizon because there isn't one. All horizons are apparent, right? But in the globe model, if we were on a globe, there would be a geometric horizon, and that point is the calculated point where, if you are standing observing, let's say from 6 feet high, the globe Earth math dictates that horizon should physically meet the sky at your eye level at a distance of about 3 miles, right? But because of the fact that we can't see that, right, they simply say, well, it's there, but you can't see it. So, and so I'm saying, okay, so what you're saying then is that it's there, it's a physical thing, not something small blocking our view, but the entire Earth 3 miles out, but we can't see it because why?
You can't argue with cognitive dissonance. It's
beyond belief.
I think that if that's not a fact, it should be a fact. You literally can't, because they're lying to themselves without even knowing it. It's a really interesting psychological condition.
Yeah, it really is.
It seems the maths were reversed on our eyesight. I think when they set all this up, they really didn't have optics all that much, especially super zoom cameras. But at 3 miles, 5.5 feet gets distorted with the angular resolution of the human eye. So there's your horizon edge right there. You know, you at that 3 miles, 5.5 feet, which, you know, and that's in perfect atmospheric conditions. So you throw in the atmosphere, there's your 6 feet right there. It kind of looks like a horizon right there. So I think everything they did was just reverse engineer on how we see everything and just put it onto a ball.
Yep, exactly. And God, isn't it amazing that we can get this live footage from Mars? It says right here, live from NASA. 24 hours a day we can get this. It's absolutely unbelievable. And yet we cannot get a single piece of footage for the Earth going around one time continuously. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Is it really 24/7 live?
That's what it says.
So
but you can do
Mars, but not the ISS. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Well, but see, here's the thing. You can do a 24-hour live stream of just a cycle through all the videos that you've ever put on your channel.
Well, that's true. And I do that.
Right.
I do that. The Globebusters 2 channel does that. But this, they actually market this as, this is live and this is coming to us from our, but, so it's like, you got to be kidding me. So you can do this, but, when the ISS somehow has a dark side of the Earth that it has to go through, and that's why we can't get a continuous shot. Or
Antarctica.
Yeah, or Antarctica. Oh, yeah, that's another one. Of course, their excuse in Antarctica is they can't process enough data. They can't send enough data. Their internet's not good enough, so they have to conveniently edit out 8 hours a day. And it just so happens that the 8 hours a day that they edit out is the time when it should be daylight at night. But somehow, well, that's just what happened.
Hey, backing up a little bit on the geometric horizon point, there was a comment I wanted to make on that, and I think this is a real important point. I did a video sort of reviewing this point because, on flat Earth, in reality, we have a horizon which is merely optical, and it's also variable depending on your altitude, right? So the higher you are, the further away the horizon is. And that's something that it is a product of perspective, right? Mostly. There's other factors, but mainly it's a product of perspective. That's how optics work in reality. And the thing is, if we lived on a ball, we would still have that effect, right? So you would still have perspective causing the distant objects to appear smaller and lower, right? But however, if it was a ball, you would have both. So you would have not only the apparent diminishment in angular size with distance, but then you would also have actual vertical descent due to the curvature. And that's never really taken into account. But I think it's a real important point, because if we lived on a ball, frankly, I think the 8 inches per mile squared calculation is way too generous to the ball. Because the 8 inches per mile squared, that would account for basically just the perspective element of this, or maybe just the vertical descent due to curvature element. But you've got both. So really it would be almost double. Really, I mean, that's the way I kind of see it, is it would be double the curvature, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean. But the problem with that, John, is, of course, there's a lot of different ways that you can calculate it. Now, of course, 8 inches per mile squared agrees very well with both AutoCAD and using the Sagitta methodology.
Right.
There are some small variances.
Well, what I would say is, if you're talking about the actual geometry of the Earth, absolutely. But again, we don't observe the universe from a third person sort of profile view, right? We look at everything in perspective, and so. Yes, 8 inches per mile squared is perfect for the geometric calculations, but when you're talking about the way we see things, I think it's too generous for the ball, because that's it's a different thing altogether than the geometry. But anyway, not to get off in the weeds there.
And again, another way you can look at this, and this goes back to a discussion that you, me, and Jeran had years ago. where Jeran had come out with the 0.323 a ratio, because basically you kind of have to look at it as, well, if the curvature is going to be there, it's going to be continuous, and it's going to be at a continuous rate. Well, geometry doesn't necessarily, provide for that, right? We can make specific points and say the curvature at this point is this much, whatever. But as far as a ratio, nobody ever looks at it that way. But to me, something that you cannot ignore when you look at it this way, and this seems very, very logical, is that if the radius of the Earth is 3959 miles, and obviously the diameter is double that, right? That means that when you have gone halfway around the Earth, right, and you have basically dropped that amount in radius, right, versus the diameter, you have a ratio of basically 0.626 to 1, right? So in other words, that means that when you look at it that way, it means that for every foot that you go forward, you also drop 8 inches on a z-axis, right? You can look at it that way, and I'm not saying that is the correct way to look at it, but you could certainly make an argument for it, and that would be a very continuous thing where you're dealing with a ratio over and over and over again. But the thing that gets me now is that because we've got them so over a barrel on the 8 inches per mile squared, that now they're coming back saying, well, that's completely invalid and wrong. Well, why is it wrong? What's wrong with it? Well, because if you calculate that out, you're actually talking about a parabola. And it's like, yeah. And your point is, well, it's for a parabola, not a ball, not a sphere. And it's like, okay, but the problem is no matter how you calculate it, why don't you go ahead and use whatever damn methodology you want to use and tell me what you get for a distance of, let's just say 465 miles, right? You use whatever methodology you want to use. I will use 8 inches per mile squared, and I will guarantee you that they will not be more than a foot or two off at all, right? But they're so desperate that they have to debunk the whole thing, and say because it's for a parabola and not a sphere, therefore it's not applicable at all. But what they so conveniently forget to do is, of course, do the math and do the comparison, because if they did the math and they did the comparison, then they would find that 8 inches per mile rule of thumb figure works beautifully.
It is. It's a great hip pocket calculation, and there's a lot of value in it just for that. But where I find the most value in terms of scoring points for the truth is the fact that it's flat earthers that are the ones that are out championing this and spreading it around for, they're the ones telling people, hey, maybe you should test for this curve. It's not the globe earthers that are doing that. Never has been, never was.
Nope.
Speaks volumes.
No, and that's the other thing is, like, if the globe earthers actually took their lasers and devised these tests to go out and actually do this, well, there's a reason why they don't do it, because if they did do it, they would get exactly the same type of results that we got. Like when we went out and did our tests with FE Core, or anybody that has done literally hundreds of tests using lasers or gyros or anything else, to either detect curvature, detect motion, or anything like that. All of those tests are out there. And what do the ballers have? Well, you have your smarty pantses in the chat that come in and say 15 degrees per hour. It's like, oh my God. So what they have is they have a flat earther who is being, well, I wouldn't say misquoted, because we absolutely did measure 15 degrees per hour, but it's what was moving at 15 degrees per hour that, of course, is the entire issue here. And it certainly was not Earth rotation. It was luminiferous ether. How did we prove that? It was quite simple. I'm not going to go into it again, but it was really, really a simple technique to prove that it was that and not Earth rotation. In fact, I even went so far as to release that data to all the ball earthers and all the flat earthers and all the little trolls out there, that were claiming that, I was hiding something. And you know what? they didn't have much to say about it. They couldn't really debunk it. Why? Because it showed exactly what I said that it did. And that was when we changed our elevation and took our measurements from a difference of 14,125 feet on Pikes Peak to just slightly over 4,000 feet or around 5,000 feet, around a 10,000 foot difference on the same latitude in eastern Colorado, we had a greater than 1.5 and nearly 2 degree per hour variance, right? Well, got news for you guys. That's 30 to 40 plus degrees per day. And unless there's something really wrong with the Earth, if it's changing rotational rates that much, you've got a problem, sister.
And of course, the only stuff we get from them is sort of high dollar production value mini documentaries with Stephen Hawking and helicopters and motorboats and completely random people off the street that turn out to be actually NASA employees, and those films or movies have been completely destroyed after the fact. It's nonsense.
I've had the pleasure of doing those myself. I mean, the Stephen Hawking one with the helicopter, where they were using the same footage and they actually had the exact same bird patterns and that. That was hilarious. It's like, are you guys really that lazy that you can't even shoot new footage? But the answer to that is yes. But, they'll think they're really smart and they have all the answers because, you know what, their teachers or their science institutions or whoever told them so. But the really sad part about it is that all they're demonstrating is their incapability of being able to process a logical, reasonable thought. They can't do it. Right. And that's really frustrating for them because if there was really all this proof, this discussion wouldn't even be happening. Right. We are killing them on every turn.
And I used to think that how was it possible for someone to try and claim that they had a rational, intelligent mind and see this stuff and still come out the other side as a baller? And I used to think that either they had to be paid agents or something. No one could be this stupid.
Dumb.
But seeing the last year and a half of what's gone down on this earth, I am almost convinced now that almost anyone can convince themselves of anything with the power of cognitive dissonance. People are literally brainwashed beyond belief.
Hypnotized. I mean,
yeah, I think a lot of it is that they're not being honest with themselves too, because a lot of this, you glean a lot of flat earth by just being very honest with yourself, right? And if you don't have that mindset, I could see somebody legitimately getting stuck in globe earth just simply because they refuse to really be honest with themselves.
Yeah.
And not be a paid agent. I mean, I think that there is that reservation of a possibility.
Yeah. Well, and the fact is that with a secret this large, of course they're going to hire an army of trolls, and they did. And look what they've done to the algorithms in YouTube and all the things that they have done to suppress this message, and the armies of trolls that put out disinformation, Simon Dans out there that literally, just make shit up. And if you don't believe that people will believe anything that they're told on the news, well, take a look around today, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Right.
It's like mask wearers. If your government says, right, you have to wear masks in school or whatever, and 99% of the pupils come in and they have masks on, and then your government turns around and says, no, come Monday you don't have to wear masks, and 99% of them come in without masks. It just shows you right there and then that they cannot think for themselves, or they thought it was bullshit anyway, but they just were doing what their government told them to do. Because if they were true believers in the mask, then they wouldn't care if the government told them not to wear one. They'd wear one anyway because they perceived a threat, but they don't. They all take their masks off because they know it's rubbish. They're just doing what they're told for the sake of an easy life. It's
Yeah.
the last year and a half. God blimey.
Yeah, that's really is what it is. I mean, and we can't really go too deeply into that, but that is the bottom line, right? They tell you most people just don't want to face the hassle, so they'll go along with it. And so they do what they're told. But when it gets so invasive that it gets to the point of what's going on today. And again, we are on Rockfin, but we're also on YouTube today, so I can't really elaborate on that. But most people know what I'm talking about. When it gets to the level that it has gotten here today, oh my God, people are already brain dead, for the most part. And then they control our chats and think that they're so smart and do that. I mean, they're the dumbest ones of all. They really are. What do you do?
Well, this is it. I mean, it's the same with the mask and the globe Earth, is that they're just agreeing with it to get along, because otherwise they will get the backlash that we've had for the last 6 years. Sad, really, really sad.
Yeah, really is. So anyway, okay, so that's enough of, that's about all the live action I can handle from Mars. So let's see. I don't even know if I need to play there. Let's see if there's, I forgot. I can't remember if there was another good part after this. Let's go ahead and just play the last minute of this and see if it's, I can't remember the end of it. Terrible. Let's just listen to it.
Pitch trim is set. Copy. Decrease in pitch. That was a great burn.
Was it, mate? Was it?
Copy, Center. Fully deployed. Point Charlie complete.
And it's all nominal.
So cool. Yep.
Nominal and cool.
There's a sea of Cortez over there.
Oh, that's right. Look at they're wearing.
Serving up these two plums here. Remember, the U-2 pilot needs a spacesuit at 70,000 feet. These two guys are supposedly over 50 miles up, right? Don't worry about spacesuits. No. Don't worry about that. Boiler suits, motorbike hats, aviators, and Spitfire breathing apparatus. Sorted. These are top boys, these are. Who we got here? CJ and Dave.
I can see the Baja Peninsula, Dave. There's that.
Little tip of the hat there to JT Tolan, wasn't it?
G. Silence of space. Yeah.
Yeah, except you can hear your rocket engine.
Amazing colors. Resetting entry trim.
Sorry, lads. The Thunderbirds models, the test flight footage, the samurai cuts, the boiler suits, the Spitfire breathing apparatus, the terrible acting, the motorbike hats. I don't know, the washing up gloves your pals got on in the back. Clearly ridiculous. And how? How is that going to debunk demonstrable reality? Sorry, lads. The game is up. No amount of pantomime is ever going to change reality. Deal with it. I have.
No, that was great.
That was unbelievable. I understand we're getting a little lag, guys, for whatever reason. Not sure why. We've had some strange internet problems lately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down two of the servers here. So if you're watching the Globebusters 24/7 server or using one of the FE Core servers, sorry, I just shut them down. But anyway, hopefully, I don't know why that would matter, but I just powered them down. So hopefully that will stop any lagging. Even though...
Bob, can you live stream to Odyssey yet?
To Odyssey? You mean library? Yeah, absolutely.
Library Odyssey. Okay, all right.
Yep, I could definitely do that. And so, yeah.
Well, then I don't know why anyone would be on YouTube. watching this, if you can, I mean, I'm more and more every day. I'm watching more and more stuff on Odyssey or Library or whatever it's called. That's confusing, the two of those things, because they're essentially the same thing, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're exactly the same thing. So, wow, it still looks like it is buffering. What the hell is going on? Sorry, guys. Let's see let's see if I can fix
Jeran
this.
taking over the world.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So,
Yeah, I'd kill the YouTube stream and just do it on Odyssey.
Well, it's
because you
it's
can
not that.
guarantee it's probably the YouTube stream that's throttling you.
Yeah, well, yeah, except for, we have a massive line here, so we should be able to run 30 of these things. So, well, it looks like
Well, exactly.
it looks like we are not. It looks like it's back to normal now. So, all right, guys. Well, sorry about that. Anyway, we will continue on. I did shut down the 24/7 and the FE Core server, but hopefully that shouldn't be a problem anymore. All right, so let's move on. Let me get my act back together here. So the next thing I want to talk about, guys, is, of course, is the modality. Well, basically, these two kind of go together, but the modality of the ether. Now, I know John is going to be doing a video on gravity very soon. And guys, I have to tell you that, I mean, most of you, if you've been following the, Globebusters, full well, and also, I think what most of us on the panel feel, even Jeran at this point, even though he was one of the last ones to kind of come over and get a grasp on what we were saying. But when it comes to gravity, I was kind of flipping through Facebook this week, and, I see so many arguments of flat earthers in there basically saying that, well, you know what, gravity doesn't exist, and, it's ridiculous. Everything is handled by, buoyancy and density, relative density. If it's more dense, it goes down. If it's less dense, it goes up, yada, 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 right? You guys know the argument. And while that may be true, and is true, to the most, for the most part, there's more to that equation, guys. And the problem with simply, outright denying gravity and saying that, it doesn't exist. And, like I said, as far as the current model of what they're promoting is gravity, this bendy space-time, I could not agree more. It does not exist. Not in that form, not in that way of manifestation. But whatever it is that basically gives us our direction of up from down, there is a bias towards down, and there is also some sort of accelerative type of force that seems to accelerate objects in the downward direction. Now, again, I'm fully aware a lot of people disagree with this, and that's fine. The good thing about this channel is you can disagree with it, and it's okay. I won't call you a shill. I won't say you're here to disrupt the flat earth movement, like I have certainly been accused of by certain channels. But the problem, guys, is that, as much as relative density disequilibrium makes sense, that all that really needs to be done is there just has to be a difference of density, and everything else sorts itself out from there. That's simply not true. All right. There is a force. There is another force, and that force sets the bias. And it is, we have proposed that it's most likely an electrostatic. We've called it incoherent electrostatic acceleration. And I think we've made a really good case for it, because we not only can we do this electrostatically, but we can demonstrate an analog of it as electromagnetically as well. Furthermore, I have presented evidence that shows that if you take a density tower, right, and you take it up in a zero-G aircraft, and you put that aircraft in a zero-G dive, well, and then you shake up the density tower, well, it will no longer arrange itself in its respective density layers. It just doesn't happen. Furthermore, if you keep pushing the nose of that zero-G aircraft over, and basically you're starting to now create a negative G type of situation where, you know, all the people inside are going to, they're starting to kind of go up and stick on the ceiling, right? So you've effectively emulated so-called gravity going up and pushing the other direction. When you do that and you shake up a density tower, then what it does is then it will rearrange itself in its respective density layers, except this time it goes in the opposite direction. What does that tell us? It tells us that in order for density and buoyancy to actually work, you have to have that little G factor in there, that gravitational factor there in the first place to set the bias. Even mathematically, when you are doing the mathematics for ballistic objects, you've got to take into consideration that gravitational effect that they're calling gravitational effect in order to make the calculations work out for everything, you know, ballistic. And let's face it, guys, we can do that pretty well. We can calculate that very well. And the mathematics, and which in this case is absolutely not wrong, demands that that variable be there, right? Now, beyond that, if, you know, you can say that, well, why, you know, if I ask you the question, well, why do things go down? And you'll say, well, because, damn it, we are buffering again. This is crazy. If I say, well, why do things go down? Well, because that's the direction that things go when, you know, they're denser than the objects below them, right? Well, that's, again, not good enough, right? Because then I can ask you the question, and it's like, okay, so why do they not only go down, but then why do they accelerate? Why do they go faster and faster and faster and faster? And, you know, we can give lots of different examples to things accelerating even beyond the speed of sound. They're going even into the supersonic realm. How is that possible if there is no force present? You cannot simply claim that that happens as a side effect of relative density disequilibrium. All right. So all I'm saying is that whatever is causing it, and it is that whatever is causing it that is basically unknown, right? That's why we're speculating. That's why Zach and I are saying that it's an electrostatic type of effect, or you could actually look at it electromagnetically. Any way you look at it, it is a modality of the ether. Now, if you watched last week's show, we had a really interesting video that we showed that kind of explained using fluid dynamics how magnets work. Well, that same fluid dynamics model also explains a lot about electricity, and I think it also explains a lot about gravity, and that's something that we're going to get in a lot deeper. But my point to all of this, guys, and it's kind of a plea, honestly, is that, you know, when people just outright deny this downward accelerative force, you know, honestly, it makes us look dumb. It does, because try and look at it from a normie's point of view. And I know most of you don't give a crap what they think, but if we're going to take this argument out into the mainstream and try and distribute this, you cannot come across like a raving lunatic and say, oh, well, it doesn't exist, when they can clearly see that something is going on. You know, that's why Neil deGrasse Tyson, even though it was a crappy demonstration, he drops the microphone and it goes down and he says, this is gravity. Okay, great. Well, in a sense, that was gravity, because there's something that's causing that downward accelerative force. Now, their model is that it used to be that it was, well, mass attracting mass. That's what's causing that. Now they've gotten away from that. Now they're saying it's bendy space-time, which of course is so preposterous that I don't even want to address it. It's just stupid. Okay. But that does not negate the fact that this force is there. It's clearly there. And we, you know, honestly, there are much better ways to address it than to simply say that it doesn't exist. Whatever it is, it does exist, but it is when they try and extend this gravitational model into what's going on out in the cosmos, right? What is causing the planets to go around the stars, and the stars to go around the galaxies, and things to rotate around black holes, or the ISS to rotate around the Earth. They're saying that that is gravity. It is not gravity. That is absolutely not gravity. It's fantasy. It's something that can be emulated with an electrostatic type of force. You guys have all seen the Don Pettit knitting needle experiment. I've showed a million times, right? That's something that can be emulated, but it is not a measurable field, manipulated. It can't be measured. There is no gravitational field to speak of that we can actually detect what the hell or why the moon would be coming over the earth and lifting up trillions of tons of ocean water, right? Where's that field? Where's that energy that's actually causing that to happen? Why can we not measure that? Well, we can't measure it because it doesn't exist. And this is exactly the part of gravity that we should be battling, the ball earthers on. Not whether or not it actually exists, but whether or not, its actual nature. And
half of the problem is explaining to the ball earthers exactly what it is that they believe, because granted, there are plenty of them that really know the shtick about gravity and what it supposedly is, but most people, the average person, really doesn't have a clue. And so, first you have to sort of describe to them exactly how preposterous gravity is in terms of the bendy space-time. Then you have different levels of people's understanding too. Like, I've had people tell me that it's because the Earth is spinning that we have gravity. Like, they believe that gravity is a byproduct of is the centrifugal force. Right. I've literally had more than one person argue that with me till they're blue in the face, and I'm just at some point you have to throw your hands up, because they don't even understand what it is that they're subscribing to. That's frustrating.
Yeah, it truly is. Mm-hmm. So what I'm asking people to consider is, first of all, guys, seriously, reevaluate the whole relative density disequilibrium argument that was put forth by Sleeping Warrior, because honestly, and I hate to say this, but it's retarded. It really is. It's just so dumb. And yes, it sounds good. And yeah, Tony looked good in his little white lab coat and his funky little glasses. And, he actually thought he was making a point, but it was asinine what he was pointing. He didn't prove anything at all. And, it was just absurd. Okay. And like I said, we are coming forward with examples, with evidence, and he's pouring salt in an egg experiment and telling you that he's the one that caused the gravitational shift, right? And that there was no other force at work in nature that's causing that to happen, which I can't even tell you how dumb I think that is. And I don't like to call other people that, but oh my God, it's bad. So,
it lines up perfectly with electric potential.
Yeah, exactly.
And all he did was change the electric potential of the water and made it stronger, because now it's more dense, which means it has more electric potential. And it gained more electric potential than the egg. Therefore, it was pulled more or pushed down more from the positive potential above it. It's that easy.
Now, there's a comment in chat. Flat Earth Terrifies YouTube says, Globebusters, what does downward bias have to do with the shape of the Earth? How does that prove flat or sphere? Well, it doesn't. But the point is that we, on the flat Earth, we need that downward acceleration just as much as the ballers would to even be able to have it. Go ahead, John.
Well, I was going to take a stab at it. See, the thing is that the ball earthers claim that what goes up must come down is exclusive to spinning ball Earth with gravity. And that's a very absurd position, because, of course, what goes up must come down is, well, it's quite the opposite of what you would expect on spinning ball Earth. And in fact, gravity is it's a patchwork job to sort of, to apologize for this glaring problem with the ball Earth, because, again, what goes up must come down is the opposite of what you'd expect on ball Earth. And yet, somehow, the ball Earth paradigm has transformed that into something exclusive to the ball Earth, right? And so it's a deep quagmire, but people really, their logic is flawed to that degree, to where they will look at something that is Well, it's impossible and quite counterintuitive in their model, and somehow they consider it to be exclusive proof and exclusively owned by their model, right? So, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it definitely does.
It's crazy. It really is. It's crazy because, I mean, think about it, man. You know, at the equator, you're standing 4,000 miles away from the axis of rotation of ball Earth, right? That's the spherical radius of the Earth, they say. But at the equator, you're 4,000 miles away from the axis, standing perpendicular to the axis, going 1,000 miles an hour around a curve. Okay, so to say that what goes up must come down for that observer at the equator is exclusive to them. And yet the experience for the observer at the North Pole, where there is no 4,000 mile radius of curvature, there is no 1,000 miles an hour around the curve. It's literally you're standing still in terms of axial rotation there. And yet these two observers have, well, practically the same experience when it comes to observing things that go up and fall down. And that's a huge problem for the ball. Another one. And really, gravity just doesn't do anything to absolve this problem.
Well, the narrative is that, like you were saying, is that if you, as a flat earther, if you agree that there is a downward force, then you are, by association, agreeing with bendy space-time and everything that they've clumped into the word gravity and all the nonsense that goes along with it. And what you're saying,